We will be doing a quick review of quadratic inequality, solving quadratic inequality. So let's take a look at a question. Find the range of values of k for which the line, this line, does not intersect the curve. So what this means is if you sub this line into this curve and you try to solve it, there is no solution. So let's call the curve equation 1, the line equation 2. And then you sub the line to the curve and you rearrange it, you get this quadratic equation equated to 0. So if the line does not intersect the curve, it means that you should not have any solution. So for line not to intersect curve, it means no solution. And if no solution, it means no real roots. For there to be no real roots, it means that b squared minus 4ac has to be smaller than 0. Because you cannot square root a negative value. If you square root a negative value, you get no real answers. So therefore, in order for line not to intersect the curve, we should have no solution, which means b squared minus 4ac has to be smaller than 0 for there to be no solution. Therefore, you sub in b squared minus 4ac to be smaller than 0. And with this inequality, you can find the values of k for which there is no solution to this quadratic equation. So if you simplify this quadratic inequality, you actually get to this part. So how do you solve quadratic inequality? The way to do it is to factorize first. Don't try to solve directly. You have to sketch the curve. So what you do first is you factorize it. Once you get this smaller than 0, then you sketch the curve. If you sketch this curve, because of this k square is a positive coefficient, you know that it's a smiling curve. And the k-intercepts can be seen from here. K minus 9 tell you that the intercept here is 9. K plus 3 will tell you that the k-intercept here is negative 3. And you want it to be smaller than 0, which means you want this part, where the k value you sub in gives you a negative value. So you want this part. So what are the range of values of k? K is between negative 3 to 9. That means any value of k within here, if you sub in, you should get a negative value. For instance, k equals to 0 is within this range. If you sub k equals to 0 in, here is 0, 0, and here is negative 27. You get indeed negative value, which is smaller than 0. But if let's say you sub a value of k that is outside the range, for instance, k is 100 or k is 10. So when sub k is 10, you sub in, you should get a positive value. So when you sub k is 10, here you get 100, here you get minus 60. So 100 minus 60, you get 40. 40 minus 27, you actually get 13, positive 13, which is greater than 0, but you do not want it. You want it smaller than 0. So k is 10 is out of the range is wrong. You do not want. So any k value within this range, if you sub in, you will get a negative value. So this is the answer for which the line will not intersect the curve. This is the range of value of k. Let's take another quadratic inequality. For instance, you want to solve this quadratic inequality, which is greater than 0. So again, factorize first. Don't try to solve directly. After you have factorized, sketch the curve. So after you have factorized, you have gotten this. Let's sketch the curve. Because you know that the coefficient of p squared is positive, you know it's a smiling curve. P minus 6 gives you the intercept 6. Okay, p plus 2 tells you that the p-intercept here is negative 2. This time you want the range of p which gives you positive, which means you want this part. When p is greater than 6, let's say p is 10, you sub in, you should get a positive value. If p is, let's say, smaller than negative 2, let's say negative 5, you sub in, you should get a positive value. Therefore, the answer is that p has to be smaller than 2, -2, or p has to be greater than 6. So this is the range of values to solve this quadratic inequality.